Hello everyone, welcome to another Rick's Picks. Today I'm going to be doing my review of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure Jennika by Loyal Subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at her in packaging, then I'm going to take a look at the figure and her accessories, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on her. Just remember, if you do like this video, go ahead and check out my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle playlist and hit that like, share, and subscribe. They're all small clicks for you, but it really helps this channel grow. So without any further ado, let's get to the review. So here she is in packaging. I like the packaging for her, like the borders and everything is a gray, but there's a darker gray highlights of the comics, which is really nice. Here, let's bring her in closer so you could see that. So I kind of dig that they did that. All right, there we go. So you got her name here. You got the figure, this open window with the figure showing and all her accessories. Nickelodeon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And up top, you got your Loyal Subject here, and their best features as well. Alright, so spin it around this way. You get this really nice comic art. I do like that. Nickelodeon, the Turtles logo. Alright, spin her back around this way. Got it like that. Alright, you get a little bit about the comics. You get some legal around her. Then you get this nice picture of the figure with all her accessories. Spin it around this way. You get your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle logo. You get this nice headshot of her. Now, as far as I'm aware of, and I could be wrong about this, I believe this is her first figure. I don't think anybody else has done like an actual action figure of her yet. So I think this is the first. I could be wrong on that. But it's definitely the first one that I'm aware of. So you spin it around to the top, you got a window there, and then underneath you have your legal. So with all that being said, let's open her up and see what she's about. So here she is, out of packaging. Overall, she's a good looking figure. I like the detail to her. Now, she doesn't come with pegs on her feet on the bottom, so you can't use a stand with her, but she seems to stand pretty well without it. So we're going to see how she works without that. So first off, let's give her the rotation. So you have this side, you have the back, you have this side, and then you have this side. So now that we gave her the rotation, let's start looking at the finer details to her. So here's her face. The sculpting isn't bad, but I'm going to say what I say with all these figures of this line. So I'm sure you're all used to me saying this. So here we go. These figures can use more detailing when it comes to the paint. For example, let's look at her face here, all right? She has this nice yellow bandana with the white eyes, but you can barely see the eyes in there, you know? And that's a bit of an issue because all they had to do was maybe did some sort of wash or maybe did some painting in here that fills in some of these cracks so you can see these details a lot better. So you can't even really see her eyes unless if you really look at it. The same with like some of her other details. When they sculpt these figures, they do a really nice sculpt on them, but you can't see some of the details because there's just no highlights to them. So, you know, that's my major problem with her, and this has been a major problem that I've been having with this line. All right, but I do like the design for the fish netting. All right, the shell looks pretty cool. So once again, the sculpting's fine. Just they need to amp up the painting department. That's what these figures need. Is they definitely need the painting department to just amp up and put a little bit more on these figures. So with that being said, let's start looking at her points of articulation. So the head does move. All right. You have a shoulder joint here. Ooh, that's a little tight, but it does move. You got a rotation here, an elbow joint, and you have a wrist joint. All right, get those arms up. Oh man, that's a little tight. Actually, I just don't think her arm goes up any higher. How about this side? No. So her arms, that's pretty much as high as her arms will go. I mean, you can put them up like this, but they don't like fully come out. So that's a bit of a disappointment. So that's about as high as you're going to get her arms. All right. She does have a joint in here, right at the rib cage, but you can't really move it because of her shell. So her shell stops that joint from moving, so there's really not much of a purpose of this joint. You can get a little bit of movement out of it. Alright. I don't think there's another joint down here. There kind of is, but it might as well not be there. Alright. So next off is her legs. You got your standard thigh joint. You do have a swivel in here. Alright. Put that leg back into place. Oh, that's a little tight. You got a knee joint. And you also have an ankle joint. Alright. So as a figure, there's definitely some flaws. You know, the painting has always been my issues. This joint here, I wish there was a way that they could have made this joint work a little bit better. But the shell really restricts any movement in here, so you can't get any really good body twist. And the shoulders don't come up much higher than as you see there. Okay, so now let's start looking at her accessories. First off, she has this cape. It's like either a plastic or a rubber. I personally always prefer cloth cape. I think it looks a lot more natural, a lot nicer. I mean, this is suitable for what it is, but me personally, my preference is always for a cloth cape. 9 out of 10 times, they're better. Next is an alternate head. Alright, where she has the bandana up and you can see her eyes. And the detailing for these eyes are actually pretty decent. I like the black lines around it. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like maybe if they did something around these eyes, you know, the eyes would stick out a little bit more. So I do like the detail on these eyes. Maybe even a little bit more of a wash so you can see her teeth a little bit better. But I digress. Next up, she has 4 hands. All right, so she has this hand here. Another open one. Alright, now these both don't have the claws because these two do. You have this one here with the claws. Same here. You have 2 bandana pieces here. So you have this here. And this here. She has a short sword here. I think that's more of a wakazaki than an actual katana blade. She has these lightning effects for the claws, so we'll see how well those work. And then last but not least, just like the other figures, she comes with this card. I always like that they come with the cards. The cards are a nice touch. And it gives you a little bit about her and what have you. So I always dig the cards. Alright. So now that we looked at everything, let's see how well it all works. So first off, pop this on here. Alright. So that just pops in there like that. No issues with, oops. Maybe. See how well that sits in there. There it goes. Alright, just had to work it in there a little bit. So that works with that. Alright, let's see how well these hands swap out. So we're going to do an open hand here. And this closed hand over here. So they swap out pretty good. Don't have any issues with that. Okay. Now let's pop these ones out. And let's try these ones next. Alright. So those work in there as well. No issues. Let's try her sword. Alright, obviously the sword isn't meant to be with these hands. So let me try it in this hand. Alright. Ooh. Alright. How do these fingers open up? They do, they're a bit on the tight side though. Alright, well, the sword can't fit. It looks like the sword should go in here, maybe? I don't know. Hold on. If it does, that's a really tight fit. Okay, so I brought down the old cup full of hot water. So I'm going to let that hand soak in some hot water real quick to see if it opens up. While it's doing that, the sword does fit in this little scabbard that she has in the front with no issues. Okay, let's do a head swap while we're at it. Man, that's pretty hard. Matter of fact, throw the head in the water too and let that heat up. Now this thing does fit on there very nicely, no issues. Once I pull the head out of the hot water, you know, we'll take a better look at that. So, ooh, that is pretty hot. Ooh, ow. Now the reason why I put that particular hand in there is just because some of these other hands are so open that that sword just isn't going to fit in there. Alright, matter of fact, while they're in there, let's get these two fist hands. 1 and 2. Alright, let's pull this head out of here. Ow, 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 man, that's hot. Alright, so once that's soaked in the hot water, that fits on there very nicely. Now this cape can, you know what, let's pop it off again, it's nice and soft. Boop. So the cape fits in there pretty nicely. No issues with that. Let's put our bandana piece in. Alright, so that sits there like that. Alright, now let's see how these claw effects work. Alright, so I guess they just kind of slide in. Oh, I see how they work. All right, so if you look at it here, there's 4 holes. So the claws just slide right into those 4 little holes. Okay, and that gives you that swiping effect. All right, let's try this one on this side. Okay. So now you get that claws moving, swiping effect. Now, by this time, this hand should be soft enough to where I can now fit this sword in. There we go. All right. So now that they had time to soften up, you can see that sword went in there very easily. But I'm afraid once this starts drying up and cooling off, it might still be a pain to put that sword in and out just because the hole in the hand is just so small. Okay. But it does work and it does go in. So my overall thoughts on this figure is that she's okay. Alright, she's not one of the greatest Turtles figures I've seen, but she's not the worst. First off, I have the same problem with her that I have with all the Loyal Subject figures, is just not enough paint. These figures could look so much better if they would add a wash or a little bit, you know, maybe some lining around the eyes. And this head is perfect proof of that, because you can barely see those eyes in there. You know, and all it would have probably taken was just some paint around the eyes just to make them pop instead of looking like they're part of the bandana. So that has always been an issue with these figures, and hopefully maybe one day somebody from Loyal Subject will watch one of these videos and say, hey, yeah, we need to fix that. The joints, I'm a little iffy with the joints. You know, I feel like these shoulders should be able to come up higher, but like I said, they only come up about this high, okay, which kind of makes it hard for some poses to get her in if her arms only going up that high. Other than that, all the other joints move very well. I didn't have any issues with them. They weren't too loose, they weren't too tight, so that wasn't an issue. As for her accessories, the head, obviously you just saw I needed to use hot water to get the head on, otherwise it would not go on easily. But the hands swap out really well. These swiping effects fit onto the claws very easily. I didn't have any issues with that. The sword, on the other hand, you definitely have to use hot water to get that sword in that hand. Otherwise, it's not going to go in there, but it does fit in the scabbard pretty easily. So, me personally, I would think this figure is, if you're a fan type figure. If you're a fan of the comic books, like the current run, because that's where she's from, or you just wanted a figure of Jane, you know, this is a nice figure. If you're not really into the new comics and you're not really into this character, it may be a pass for you. So I'm on the fence with this figure due to the issues that I mentioned earlier. So with that being said, I hope you guys did like this review. If you did, go ahead and check out my Ninja Turtle playlist and hit that like, share, and subscribe. They're all small clicks for you, but it really helps this channel grow. So until the next one, late.